super excited to talk to our next guest. She is the award-winning host and the creator of the new critically acclaimed show, Drag Heels. Welcome, Tracey Erin Smith.
Thank you so much.
I am so excited to have you on this podcast. I can't wait to get into everything Drag Heels and talk about everything that you've done. But let's start. We were talking in the green room before. Where are you located right now? Where are you?
Right now I'm in Toronto, Canada, which is where I grew up.
Oh, wonderful.
Are you wearing heels?
No. No, because the camera is not showing what I'm wearing. I'm wearing half sneakers.
I love that.
It's got a heel. It has a heel.
It does.
You know,
it has a little heel on that. So you were saying the weather is there a little rainy, right?
Yes, it's mild and rainy, and goodness knows what's happening.
We are going through, I feel like, some weird type of heat wave today.
It's humid.
It's hot.
It's humid.
I'm so hot.
Yeah.
It's crazy. But listen, Tracey, let's get into all things you and everything you've done. So kind of give us a little bit of background. Let us know. So Drag Heels, super important. I am so glad that there's another show out there to talk about the differences in our community. So talk to us a little bit on what inspired you to create this show.
Oh, super question, Darrell. Thank you. So a number of years ago, I wondered what would happen if drag artists got on stage and not only did they look fabulous and lip sync, move amazing, what if they shared real stuff that they'd lived through? What if they shared their guts and their glory and their hearts? You know, would people be interested in hearing the stories behind the mask?
Right.
That was my driving question behind creating Drag Heels. And the first season began as a total experiment. You know, we assembled eight guys who wanted to be queens and took them through the process that I developed when I was an instructor at Toronto Metropolitan University.
Amazing.
And so the process involves asking all kinds of questions about, you know, your past and what you've been through, turning points in your lives, what happened in your life that once it happened, your life was never the same. What's something someone said to you that you've never forgotten? I do this crazy exercise, and you'll see it in all 3 seasons, called the exaggerated self, which I invented. And I basically say, I want you to put the good, the bad, and the ugly about yourself on theatrical steroids and come in as a big, badass, exaggerated version of yourself. And the results are incredible. Truly, everything from friggin' bizarrely hilarious to gut-wrenchingly honest. And people laugh and people cry. And something about exaggerating the self cracks open a person's essence.
Yeah, I was going to say that. I think that is very important because so many times you just see the surface, right, of drag queens. You see them being funny, them being shady, but really to get to the root of, you know, what really inspired them and what from their life that they used to really bring their drag together. And I think that's so important.
A lot of the times it's always I find, you know, when comedy queens go on the show, on Drag Race and stuff, they're like, oh, where do you find your humor? Where do you find your comedy? It's always from a place of pain.
Yeah.
And while that, you know, it sounds bad, it's good. You know, you're taking your trauma and you're turning it into, and usually for them, into money.
Yeah.
A bag.
Yes.
You know?
Yes. You know, sorry, Adam, go on.
Well, no. I was just gonna say, were you inspired at all, or did you ever watch RuPaul's Drag U?
No, that was more of a school, right? Like a more
yeah. And they would bring in usually cis straight women and hey, you know, we want to give you this platform. How do you feel? And you know, well, let's put you in drag, and the drag will pull
that energy
out of you. I didn't know if that was maybe you were inspired by that or anything.
No, I wasn't, but I'll have to check it out. I mean, one expression that I like to use is drag is the mask that unmasks.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
wow.
That's good.
Right?
So, Tracey,
I
was just going to ask, being that you were a cis straight woman, I assume with your pronouns being she, hers.
You're correct on the cis and the pronouns, but my life partner is a woman.
Oh, we
love that.
Yes.
Um,
I love it.
what was your motivation to be a mouthpiece for the drag queen community?
Well, and I wouldn't say it's just, I would never dare to be a mouthpiece for the drag queen community. I think I am a midwife for the drag community. And of course,
Oh, I
not
love
one
that.
of the drag community. I help drag artists. I mean, our first season was just drag queens. And when they asked me if I would do a second season, I said, yes, but we have to be more inclusive. We have to
Yes.
get kings involved. So second season, we had kings, we had drag clowns, we had drag
Yes.
monarchs. We
Yes.
also had an age range from, I think it was 19 to 72.
Wow.
So
I love that.
So yeah, so in terms of, for me, it's not about being a mouthpiece. It's giving them a platform, and using my tools and techniques and process to pull forward their stories and then integrate it with the drag.
Why do you do that?
Yeah, I love that.
God, why do I do? There's nothing better on the planet. There's nothing better on the planet than watching a human being crack open, share things they've never really told to anyone,
Yeah.
blow their own minds and transform their souls.
That is amazing, Tracey. And I think it's so great for you to be kind of a conduit instead of a mouthpiece. Like you're having that flow through. So a question I have for you, you see how many attacks at least are happening around the world against drag queens. People are saying that drag queens are hurting children and that's a bad process. What do you think about that? And what do you say to those lawmakers that are basically trying to ban drag and have that, outlawed?
I actually think it's terrifying. And I just read something recently in the Guardian, and I just want to quote from it. It said the freedom of expression groups warn that some of the legislation could extend to a woman playing Peter Pan, or high schools performing Twelfth Night, or restaging Some Like It Hot. Conversely, Penn warns they could impact women who wear pants and men who wear kilts. Like some of this new terrifying legislation would really ban what they would call cross-dressing. So I'm wearing pants right now. That would be a problem, or traditional kilts. I think it's terrifying. And
Wow.
Anyone who thinks that a drag queen or king or clown reading a children's book to a group of children is dangerous doesn't know what the heck they're talking about.
Absolutely.
We need children. Children have so many things that they need to explore: gender, self-expression, who they are, what they love to do. And the more examples of what they see as possible in the world, the more possibilities awaken within them.
Absolutely. I agree that that's really important. It's so scary. Here in the US, we have that governor of Florida. I don't even want to give his name. Like he's putting out all of this rhetoric and fear mongering against drag queens, and it's quite sad. And there was a queen who did a reading. I think it was Robin Fierce from the current season of RuPaul's Drag Race, and she was doing a reading, and the kids were having a great time. They were enjoying it, and their parents had them there. And I think it's such dangerous rhetoric to say that drag queens are molesting children, and like they're putting out
rumors.
Rumors. They're saying, oh, they're taking them into the bathrooms during the show and doing this to them. And it's just like, that's not what's happening. That's not what's happening at all.
Of course, they're going to use propaganda to spread their agenda. Of course, they're going to use lies. And, I really think that Drag Healed is an amazing antidote to the hatred towards drag performers, because once you know somebody's story, it is impossible to hate them.
Yeah, it is. I agree with that.
Tracey, I have a question. What is being that you're our spokesperson for the entire country of Canada, right?
we're deeming you that. We're giving you that.
What is your to Darrell's point? What is your view on? I'm going to say his name, Ron DeSantis. What is your view on gay rights, the issue of gay rights, LGBTQ plus rights that's happening in America right now? What's Canada's view?
Well, speaking as the spokesperson for the entire Canada,
I love you. Yes.
I would have to say, we think of you as sort of our big rowdy cousin to the south. And you have a few people at your house party that are making a mess and becoming dangerous.
Yeah.
And so we have our eye on it because we know that the tendrils and the ideas from down there come into our country as well. We are not up here as Canada's official spokesperson, I can tell you that.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I mean, also my background is Jewish, so I'm sort of, I'm watching like the rise of
anti-Semitism,
anti-Semitism and anti-queer and anti-drag queen, and so I think in a perfect world we stand up for each other. You don't just have pride marches; you get the entire community out to support the gay community.
Right.
Yet you don't have, we've never had a Jewish pride parade, although I can imagine how hilarious it would be. But
I'd love that. I'd love it.
We need to show up and stand up for each other. That's the only way that people stay safe and people stay free.
Does Canada hate us right now?
Oh my God, no.
They should.
They should.
Honestly, Canadians are the nicest. Like Braden and I went to Toronto together. They're so kind up there. I do have questions about your alcohol laws and why y'all don't pour me enough. But you know what? That's fine. We'll let that slide. So Tracey,
where did that come from about being like Canadians are so sweet, they're so kind?
Because they are.
Because it's authentic.
It's real. Like they are literally.
I mean, I don't know, but
they are the nicest people.
I'm gonna just be that person and be like, I mean, I don't know. I feel like I've seen on Twitter that Canadians are just like, not a complete opposite.
Well, you know what? I wouldn't trust Elon Musk's Twitter. I would go to Canada yourself and find out, which is what we did.
Yeah, and we also have a Canadian spokesperson for the country of Canada.
Sure, incredibly nice.
On the line.
I don't trust Twitter. It is MAGA. All right, so Tracey, I have a shady question. So, what would you think? Because your show, like you said, immediately in your second season, you said we need to be more inclusive. What do you think about how long it's taken a certain drag queen in the U.S. named RuPaul Charles to become inclusive? Because it took them several seasons to have a trans woman win. They still have not had a
not
plus
even
size
win
woman
on the show.
Right. And also drag kings be included in other countries, RuPaul's Drag Race.
Yeah.
Well, I'm so happy for RuPaul giving men a platform because I really feel men are underrepresented in the world. I'm just kidding.
Right.
Are you kidding?
We are
She's
so
obviously kidding.
Right. Yeah. We have no space, but
what about the white men? They need
especially
more
them.
Representation. The right straight
Let me
men.
tell you what my personal philosophy is. I would rather not waste a minute trashing anyone who's doing anything and spend a few hours doing it myself.
I know that's right.
Yes.
If I can be the change I want to see in drag television, then that's what I'm going to do.
Come on.
I love that. I mean, and I think that's the best way. And I think that, people are catching up. It just always interests me when people in our own community, it takes them a while to catch up. And I think it's maybe because they're maybe playing safe. Maybe it's because they're feeling, hey, we need to make the mainstream comfortable before we can introduce, because I do know that the Drag Race UK, I believe it was, or was it Canada, had their first female their first drag king. They had their first UK. I think it was UK. They had their first.
I don't know if they're considered a drag king,
but it was their first cis
female. Yeah. But they still do. They're still drag queens. Okay. Yeah. Drag kings are women, cis women who dress like men.
Right. So they had their first cis woman who was a drag queen. And so, we're seeing, some change, but I, want to give a shout out to you. You're coming right out the gate knowing like, listen, we already need to make this change. I don't want to, I already know that there's a problem and we need to make sure that everybody's represented.
Right.
Yes, and here's how it's good on a selfish level for me and the show.
Yeah.
When you have a homogeneous group of people that are more or less the same.
Yeah.
The community that they build will not be as interesting or potentially as powerful than a diverse community.
Absolutely.
And I don't have a cast, I have a community. By the
wow.
end of the
I love that.
Yeah, by the end of the 8 episodes, these people, like 2 of our cast members, so we have Al Val, who's a trans woman, electric guitar playing comedian. Yes. And we have Canada's only drag wrestler. So these 2 became so close that by the time we'd wrap the season, they were helping each other move. Like
amazing.
They were
a real community that really supports. We see in other drag shows, it's like, oh, we're sisters, and it's not really that. And I feel like your show doesn't promote the stereotypical reality TV, if that makes sense.
Well, listen, I have nothing against competition. I think competition.
Nothing, yeah.
Yeah, competition can make us better. We can invent things.
Healthy competition.
Run faster, exactly. But when you're talking about creating an intimate, safe environment for people to disclose very private things, the last thing you'd want it to be is a competition.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because then it would be like turn into, I'm comparing myself, and that's the last thing anyone needs to do.
Because
especially for our community,
right? Because people, I was watching something the other day
already.
when people say, "Do you really hate when you're going through something and someone says, 'Oh, I know how you feel,' and like a lot of people really find out they don't like hearing that. A lot of people don't like hearing someone tell them, 'I know how you feel,' because in that moment their pain feels so compounded, or whatever they're going through doesn't feel the same. And I think it's great when you can just connect on those levels, and it's not about trying to, I don't want to say one up because that sounds awful, but when you're not trying to compare your lives,
comparison will kill.
You're really onto something there, Darrell. I think the highest quality listening is all about letting the person empty their heart.
Right.
Just bearing witness to their truth.
Absolutely.
So Tracey, if you as yourself were competing on your show, Drag Heels,
yes,
what would be your drag name?
Oh my God.
What would be, I'm not done. What would be your, I'm trying to think of like the Miss America pageant. What would be your stance of changing the world? And if you had a swimsuit number, what would it be? Or we can do the swimsuit number as being like your fashion statement. What would that be? All three of them. What would it be?
Okay.
Welcome to Braden. This is what he does. Get ready.
Braden, you are so good. Okay. Drag name, The Burning Bush.
Okay, why? I need to know the backstory of the Burning Bush.
The backstory is, so I wrote and performed a one-woman show called The Burning Bush across Canada and in New York. And the story was based on a woman that was studying to be a rabbi in New York. She got kicked out of rabbinical school. She started hanging around with Jackie Mason. He took her into a strip club. To make a long story short, she taught the strippers Kabbalah, which is Jewish mysticism. They taught her how to strip, and she became the world's first stripping rabbi. And her stage name was The Burning Bush.
There we go.
I love.
Oh, Tracey, I love you. That's so amazing. That's so amazing. All right. So the other question: what is your stance?
How are you going to change the world?
Everybody has a story. We need to sit and listen to each other's stories, because once you hear someone's story, you cannot hate them.
I love that. And I feel like that's something that people don't do enough of now.
There's not much patience.
Yeah, it's just like people don't really, have that time. So I want to go back to Drag Hills.
Wait, I want to hear her fashion moment.
Sorry, the fashion moment, yes.
Can you say that again?
Your fashion moment, like the swimsuit moment where you walk out on the runway. What's your fashion?
My fashion is 2 huge stars of David on my boobs.
Yes.
And a glowing center down below.
Hello.
Yes.
Amen.
I love it.
I will repent to that.
I love that. So going back to Drag Hill, so I want to take it back there to ask you a question. So, there's been a lot of difficulty, when you're putting your own production together, as we know it, like Pride the Series and different productions around the world. What was your biggest obstacle in putting your show together? What would you feel that was the thing that kind of I don't know how we're going to get this across or how we're going to make this work?
Well, I mean, the whole thing was an experiment at the beginning.
Right.
So the biggest thing was getting enough people to say, okay, screw it, let's try it.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And then, I think some people use the words trauma porn when thinking about personal storytelling.
Absolutely.
Reality TV. So I want to say something about this. Mm-hmm. One of my best friends is a Harvard Divinity School graduate, and he's a very well-respected minister. And he said when he was in seminary and they were teaching them how to write sermons, the one thing they told them was, preach from your scars, not your wounds.
Ooh.
Wow. Wow.
Let's all take a moment.
Yeah, that was.
Take a moment. It's that good.
Wow.
And that's the principle that we have on Drag Heels. And I'll tell you 2 reasons. So one is to get up on stage and preach or storytell from your wounds. It's not safe for you, the storyteller, and it ain't safe or pleasant for the audience. And yeah, so that's the main thing of why we do that.
Wow.
Wait, hold on. I preach for your scars and not your wounds. That is gonna stick with me. Yeah, that's because you often don't consider your scars because you're like at a hill. The wounds is what you pay more attention to a lot of time.
Because the wounds are drawing your attention because they need healing, they need processing.
They're fresh.
It also takes time. It takes time to get the scars.
Absolutely. And once you have the scars, it's safe to go back into the moment and tell the story, in the present tense as if it's happening, because it's not going to consume you. It's not going to destroy you. And I want to say something else that's unique about our show in terms of it is a documentary television series.
Yes.
And a lot of the documentaries, or what is also called reality television, one thing that we do differently is before we air an episode, which is happening, we go to air February 10th, each person in the show is given the rough cut of their episode. And if there's anything in it that they don't want to go public, they tell us and we take it out.
Oh, I love that.
Which is something
that's very kind.
Other shows do not do.
Yeah, other shows do not, because I feel like there is at least here in America, there's something about reality TV and the salaciousness of it that Americans love. We like you love when we watch the Housewives. Braden and I were watching Housewives in New Jersey the other day, and so was Adam and I. And it's just like we watched it because we were like, oh, we want to see what the nastiness is going to be. People love that kind of stuff, and here lately, I don't know if you watch like Real Housewives shows like Salt Lake City, Beverly Hills has been very riddled with people committing crimes and people being accused of committing crimes, and people have been tuning in for that. And I've said, while I love the mess, it has gotten very dark, and it is good to see a show like yours out there that is providing a little bit of light. It's bringing some light to another world. Because listen, we love the message that's this next person. You have levels. You have Love and Hip Hop, where you have people fighting, like fist fighting. Then you have Housewives, where you have people committing crimes and telling lies on each other. And then you have RuPaul's Drag Race, where you have queens. They have where they're being nasty to each other. And then you have your show where it's just like, I'm trying to heal, and I'm trying to let other people know how I healed and if I can help them in any way. And I think that's so important.
What's literally drag heals.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
I have a question before we let you go. Our podcast is obviously called Pride the Podcast. What does pride mean to you, Tracey?
Oh, pride means to me just living my life in public, as a public person, walking down the street, holding my partner's hand, openly talking about it anywhere I go. That's it. It's just living my life out in the open.
Yeah. And it's so beautiful because so many people in different areas of the world can't do that.
Absolutely.
It's true.
Even in the States.
And even in the States.
In some states, yeah.
I heard that our show is broadcast in Poland. And this made me just ecstatic because some of the anti-gay laws and terrible, like all kinds of horrible violence against queer people, and to know that at least hopefully on some people have access to watch a show like ours that has all genders and all self-expression and all kinds of drag, and people telling their true stories, their coming out stories or their love stories. I'm just hoping that there's young Polish people whose lives and hopes can be saved by that.
They're 100%.
Well, I 100%. And so to our listeners that are listening, Tracey, what is one piece of advice if they're struggling with being able to release their pain and tell their story to really heal and come to a place of really understanding themselves? What piece of advice would you give them?
Find one safe person to tell your story to. And if you can't, write it down. And if you can't write it down, in your journal, send it to me, email it to me.
Oh, what's your email? What's your phone number? What's your bank account?
You led right. You led right. Well, first of all, we're not gonna Jen Shaw her and try to get her social security because we don't want to do that. But Tracey, please let everyone know where they can find you, where they can reach out to you, because I think that the work you're doing is amazing. I think that people they need that and they need an outlet like that. So please let them know where they can find you and where they can also watch Drag Heels.
Woo! Okay, website solo.ca, SOULO.ca. Drag Heels will be available as of February 10th on Out TV, Amazon Prime, Apple TV, and I think also Vimeo and YouTube. Yeah, and you can reach me through my website, a direct email right there.
Amazing.
That's amazing.
Lovely.
Thank you, Tracey, for everything that you're doing for the community. It's just doesn't go unrecognized. It's amazing, and I'm so excited for Drag Heels.
Yes, and I'm glad that you chose to like come on and talk to us. Like it means a lot. We have a lot of young listeners and stuff that listen to our show, and I think it'll be great for them to hear that they have that outlet, like, and they can reach out and things. So thank you so much for coming on and talking to us.
It was just a pleasure and an honor, and you guys are fantastic. What you do for the community is outstanding. Thank you.
Thank you, Tracey, so much. Sending you so much love, and come back and hang with us anytime. We love for you to come on and talk hot topics with us, because you know we love to get messy sometimes.
Whenever you're in New York, let us know.
Yes,
I
please.
will. Okay. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Tracey.
Bye.